Hello and welcome to the final match preview of the 2024-25 season. And we record this preview off the back of the 2-0 victory against Blackpool, which means that we are the highest points tally for a team ever in the English Football League. And it's just really been astonishing this season to be able to witness a Blues team win as many games as they have and do it in the fashion that we have done as well by keeping so many clean sheets, scoring a lot of goals and just looking like a solid outfit all round with everybody fighting for each other on the pitch. And you can really see that camaraderie in pretty much every performance this season. So fair play to the fans, fair play to the players and the manager and the owners and just everyone around the club really for being able to put on what has happened now in the fact that we are going to the final day against Cambridge United at the Abbey Stadium, playing for the chance to reach 111 points, which is just an absurd number to be able to achieve in the season. And there's so many positives to be able to take from the season, and also the 2-0 victory against Blackpool at Bloomfield Road in our penultimate game of the season, where Alfie May got a goal and Ethan Laird also got a goal in the first half as well. So it was a really good team performance once more, and another clean sheet to add to Allsop's tally. I believe that's 21 clean sheets for him in the league this season. And also, you look up and down the pitch at some of the players that didn't even start the game, like Jay Stansfield, who came off the bench, who will probably start against Cambridge, and other alterations to the team that, players that didn't feature from the start against Blackpool that could now move into the starting 11 against Cambridge. Maybe the likes of Alphonse Samsted, who has got a bit of game time since we wrapped up the title. I know he got his goal against Burton. Maybe he features in the starting 11 against Cambridge. And obviously we've had Mark Leonard make some starts in the run-in, but I'm sure he's not going to be too happy with the minutes that he's got because he got subbed off, didn't he, after 58 minutes against Blackpool. But I really think that is just Chris Davis picking the best starting 11 and then also the players to come off the bench at the certain times to try and win the game, because Pate came on and just really closed the door, didn't he, for Blackpool. And then you have Grant Hanley come on with 10 minutes to go, and it just seems that this game plan that Chris Davis is using is working to maximum effect. And yeah, on the final day we've now got Cambridge United, who have already been relegated, a real tough time for them this season, with former Blues manager Gary Monk starting off the 24-25 season as their manager and Michael Morrison as their captain. Gary Gardner's also registered to play for Cambridge but has not featured for them at all this season. So that's a bit of a baffling story that I'll have to ask my guest about. But as for score predictions, I'm going to go with a 2-1 victory for Birmingham. I know predicting Birmingham to concede a goal is a bit out there nowadays, isn't it? But on the final day, you do get the feeling that anything could happen. But I'm just hoping that, we get the 3 points and move on to 111 points. And just want to say thank you for everybody to watch this match preview and all the other previews this season, as well as a lot of hard work goes into it, whether it be from myself presenting and then Tommy editing and all of the team around Blues Focus that have put in a shift this season to just keep up with the sheer amount of games that we've had, because I think the game against Cambridge is going to be Blues' 60th game of the season, and we're always looking to put out content for each game, whether it be the previews or the match day vlogs and the stuff that goes up on the Blues Focus website as well. So thank you to everybody that has tuned in and engaged with our content this season. We're only going to look to grow and get bigger and better for next season for our return for the championship. And here's the interview that I did with Jack that represents Cambridge United and the leading channel for them, really. So yeah, thank you so much for everybody for watching this preview, for tuning in for the entirety of the season. Hope to see you back here on the channel next season. Bigger and better things to come from Blues Focus, and keep right on. So I'm joined here by Jack from Under the Abbey Stand podcast, and looking forward to this final day of the season. I imagine for Blues fans, it's one of those seasons where we don't want it to end, but for Cambridge's sake, it's probably the reverse. I think it's fair to say, isn't it, Jack?
Yeah, it certainly is, mate. It's a shame to say, but we're definitely glad for this to be over. It's been a long season, one that we thought, there were glimmers of hope at points, but really it's been pretty demoralising the whole way through. And yeah, we'll just be glad to get it over with. To be honest, I think we're happy to see it over and just start afresh, have a summer where you can have a break, start again, try and rebuild next year, get, a lot of the bad players out and get some good ones in and experience our team winning a bit that we haven't seen much of late.
Because I look at sort of Cambridge's season as a whole, and like I remember at the start of the season when people were doing predictions as to who's going to finish where, and I really wanted you guys to stay up because obviously you had Michael Morrison as your captain, Gary Monk as your manager, like two people that are very well liked at Birmingham, and I think just the situation when you guys visited St Andrews, when I believe Gary Monk was still the manager then, but it just wasn't quite working, and then obviously Harris had returned, having gone back to Millwall and then back to Cambridge. So in terms of the managerial situations of this season, what's happened on that front?
It's an interesting one. I think Gary Monk came in with a really difficult challenge with United, and he came in and his goal last season was to keep us up, and we stayed up. And he did his job well enough as it stands. I don't think it was anything amazing, but it really did do the job. He had a big chance in the summer to kind of put his own stamp on it, and I think between him and Ben Strang, who was in charge of recruitment, they both got it a bit wrong, and then we maybe stuck with Gary Monk a bit too long. I think we could have tried to, you know, be a bit more purposeful and get rid of Monk earlier, and then we stuck with him. And I think the players and the fans certainly started to resent him, which is a shame. But yeah, as soon as he was gone, it was kind of get Harris in, with Mark Bonner as well in there to try and kind of rebuild and just aim for survival. And it's certainly been more of a chance of that since Monk's gone and Harris has come in. But ultimately, we got 1 point from our first 9 games, so it was never going to end well, really.
Because, like, in terms of Cambridge's story within League One, you guys got promoted during the COVID season, I believe, and then sort of had that mid-table League One finish. And then I feel like a lot of your sort of top players then got poached and then maybe found it hard to replace those guys. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, it's really, really nail on the head stuff. I mean, we did well to get promoted. I think there are quite a few people both within the club sphere and outside who think the COVID season kind of benefited us because, there wasn't fans, there wasn't the big away days that you might have when we were going there, without fans anywhere. And it's an interesting kind of opinion. We really did have a great season that season, regardless, and we deserved to be in League One. And as you say, the first season we held our own, we survived, not comfortably exactly, but a lot more comfortably than the following seasons. And then yeah, it kind of got closer and closer. A fantastic final day, staying up a couple of seasons ago against Forest Green, and we cut it tight again last season. And I think probably if you speak to most football fans and you look at the table of the 92 or the 70 in the football league and 72 in the football league, and it does show that we are somewhere near the bottom of that over the past few seasons. So if you're a fan of another side and you're looking at it from that point of view, you probably say our time had come. And sadly, it has. As I say, that 1 point for the first 9 games is a thing that cooked us. I think in seasons before we've had a good start and we've kind of, we've battled throughout seasons, and that just really kind of, I think, broke a lot of fans' resolve. There was a lot of people around Christmas already coming to terms with us being relegated, which is a sad way to be, and it's been the theme all season. And sadly, we didn't have enough to go over the line. And I think losing to Burton, who are just there and thereabouts in a night, last minute winner for them to basically survive and us to go down, just shows you where we're at this season and where we've been all season, really.
And in terms of the players at Cambridge, I think some of the Blues fans will be interested to hear what's happening with Michael Morrison. Obviously, like East, you guys, captain, started off career at Cambridge, and then I mean Gary Gardner, he hasn't even kicked a ball for you guys, has he?
There's something weird going on with Gary Gardner. No one really knows what's happened there. It was like a real excitement around his name when he came in. Obviously, he's got great credibility as a footballer, great CV, and I think everyone was like, "Oh, this could be the thing that turns our season around." And the first month goes by and he's not played, and everything goes a bit quiet. And there's talk of him, having long-term injuries, and we've just never seen him. But very few fans have actually seen the man in flesh himself. So who knows what's happened there? It's some sort of gamble that I guess sometimes later in footballers' careers they get an injury that you just can't get over. I think that's probably what's happened, but that's been a real, a theme for us. We've signed a lot of players who've been struggling with injuries or, were injured when we signed them and haven't featured enough. And but on the flip side of that, Michael Morrison has been, has been one of our better players this season. He's been a fantastic servant to the club, as you say, both at the start of his career and the end, and he'll be fondly remembered. There's not too much criticism going his way. I think defensively as a whole, we've been pretty weak. But for Morrison still to be in there, kind of almost ever present, shows you the resolve of the man, and he plays with his heart on his sleeve, so that he'll be remembered very fondly in years to come as a Cambridge United player. But interesting to see what happens with him and quite a few others, because I think there's going to be a big kind of overhaul for United, and certainly a big change in personnel.
Yeah, and in terms of like the hierarchy at Cambridge, obviously with Blues this season, I think we've really paid attention to what our hierarchy have got to say because beforehand, in the previous decades or whatever, like we hadn't really had much communication from the top. But with you guys, I remember right at the start of the season when Cambridge was struggling for results and there was like a statement that was put out talking about like, Gary Monk's the right man for us because the data says so and stuff like that. And you maybe look too much into the data, but in terms of like the CEO, Alex Tunbridge, I actually used to work with him at Stevenage, so I know him quite well. And in terms of what noise is coming out from the hierarchy of the club, what do you make of, looking forward to League Two next season and recruitment, as you said, maybe it's got to be a bit different.
That's a big question. And Alex Tunbridge, he speaks really well, I think, and that is a great thing to have at a club. Somebody who knows kind of, how to talk the talk, but ultimately we need to know how to walk the walk, and we need to combine the two. It's great to have communication from as you say, like people at the top, and to have a discourse with fans. But ultimately, we've released a couple of statements in recent times, and they've kind of come back to bite us really, and we look a bit silly as a club when you do that. And as you say, trusting in the numbers and trusting in someone like Gary Monk for too long has ultimately cost us our League One place. And I think however good you are at talking and kind of communicating with the fan base, you've got to hold your hands up and kind of accept a bit of responsibility. So I think, they were proactive. They're bringing in Neil Harris, bringing in Mark Bonner again. And of course, Ben Strang fell victim as he was, a man in charge of recruitment. So now it's whether the club can work together with these, this new board level and kind of senior staff level members to get some good signings, because we've kind of fed off scraps. We've been signing players at the end of their careers or, injury prone players at the start. We've not really been able to use the loan market particularly well. So these are all things, a team coming down from League One after their fourth season who should be looking at going into League Two and being an appetising prospect to go to. So we really need to work hard, and hopefully that work's already started. As soon as Harris and Bonner came in, I hope that they are already having conversations about players that they'd like to bring in. Kind of looking at ex clubs of both of them and all that kind of thing, contacts in the game, but also yeah, kind of making Cambridge an appetising prospect to come to as a League One side, looking to get back to League Two side, looking to get back to League One as soon as possible.
And in terms of like the final day of the season, you see it at a lot of grounds where you kind of got this like party atmosphere, and like if it's nice weather, then you get like a send off of the team or whatever. But with the Abbey on Saturday, what kind of atmosphere are we expecting at the game?
It's funny, mate, because like I've been having a conversation with quite a lot of people, and I think there will be quite a party atmosphere because we've endured like awful football all season, and we've basically known we've been down all season, but like it's the hope that kills you kind of thing. Now the shackles are off, we know we're down, the sun's going to be out, as you say. I think it might just be like, yeah, let's just enjoy the day, forget about the football. We're playing yourselves, a team who are, just basically broken all the records in League One after saying they would do. So fair play, the Blues came out and said they were going to do it, and they have done it, and fair play to them. And I'm sure they'll enjoy their final day in League One and hope it's their final day, kind of full stop. So yeah, I think your fans will be having a party. I think ours will probably just be happy to be out there in the sun and that this season's over. Draw a line under it, and as I say, have a really big summer and try and get back here on merit and give it a better go. These things happen at clubs at our level that aren't the size of Birmingham City but are the size of Cambridge United. It's a fine line, and if you get a couple of signings wrong and you have a bad start like we have, then that can be your season. So we need to learn from that. And yeah, there's no guarantee we'll come straight back up, but it needs to be that the club's well organised, making good signings, and yeah, looking forward before the season starts again.
And what type of football do you think Cambridge are going to play on Saturday? Do you reckon they're going to try and go man for man against us, or do you reckon it's going to be one of those low block situations where you've got to try and break you down?
I've got no idea how to answer that question because they could literally play anybody who's in that squad. It's one of those days where I'm not sure if they're going to kind of give the youth a little run out and kind of give some people who haven't played maybe a start, or there's those players who are probably going to leave in the summer. Do you give them a kind of goodbye swan song thing? I don't know, but I mean, I hope Harris tells them to have a go. I hope Neil Harris gets in that dressing room and says, "This is your last day in League One. Make the most of it. Don't go out in a damp squib. You're playing the best team in the league this year. You might as well give it a go." I hope we see a good game, an open game. I mean, we could see a lot of goals if United go for it, and I don't mean a lot of goals for United. But yeah, I think it would just be really nice for to see United. What's the point in us sitting on it? Do you know what I mean? There's literally 0 point, short of kind of a really kind of horrible mentality of thinking like if we, can sit on the game and try and, but we couldn't even get up any places. Like with the whole Reading situation, for example. If we'd have finished 21st and Reading went bust, we might have stayed up. We can't even finish 22nd now. So we literally might as well just go for it, have a good day out. Hopefully, yeah, someone young can get on the score sheet or, make a name for themselves. There'll be players out there playing for their League One place or their League Two place next year. And I think it would be nice if they played with a little bit of freedom that we've not seen 1 minute of this season.
And finally, the last score prediction of the season. What are you saying for the score, Jack?
3-0 Cambridge United.
3-0 Cambridge. I tell you what, like every single team that like I do predictions with and they say they're going to win by like a certain amount, I always have like the Shrewsbury game in my head from like earlier in the season. I think if they can beat us, then
I
anybody can beat
know,
us.
you just never know. Weird things happen on the last day of seasons. Anything can happen. Birmingham broken that points total, and Cambridge are, we're League Two now, so maybe it'll just be one of those days where the form book goes out the window, and hopefully everyone has fun in the sun. That's all I want.
Maybe so, yeah. Thank you so much for your time, Jack, and good luck for you guys next season in League Two. Hopefully, you'll bounce straight back up to League One.
Thanks, Sam.